All right, friends, welcome to the first ever taping of RLA Radio, our one shot, no review. So this is just a way for us to connect with all of you. We miss you. The semester turned out a little bit differently than we thought, but the RLAs wanted to check in and just share some time with you guys. So all the RLAs from NYUDC are here. Hi, guys. Just in case our prior students aren't only the ones viewing this, my name is Sarah. I'm one of the RLAs at the DC site.
I'm Tim. I'm also one of the RLAs on the 6th floor.
I'm Roxanne. I'm the RLA of the 4th and 5th floor.
And I'm Krista, the RLA on the 8th and 9th floor.
Cool. All right. So this is just kind of a time for us to check in and just kind of see how everyone's doing. So some questions. In this time of social distancing and stay-at-home orders and a lot of kind of different social things, what is your current go-to TV show for the entertainment? Where are we at, friends?
Oh, so for me, that's easy. This is a Westworld age. It's Westworld's world. We're all just living in it. That is by far my favorite show. Season 3 is airing right now. Seasons 1 and 2 are legendary. I'm a huge fan of the Nolan siblings, Christopher Nolan and Jonathan Nolan, his brother, and then his wife, Jonathan Nolan's wife, Lisa Joy, is the executive producer of the show. And so they've done some amazing work, the three of them together, Interstellar, Inception. And so if you liked those two movies, Westworld is the TV show for you.
Westworld, west of Westeros. I have been really digging deep into Brooklyn Nine-Nine and other things that just make me laugh in a world where there's not too many things to laugh about. I highly recommend. I'm rewatching it, but even the second time around, it's really amazing. It's good humor. It's the humor that, like, it doesn't take anything as the punchline. Like, it's just good, wholesome, pure hilarity. Good stuff.
A lot of people have told me I looked like Rosa.
You do?
You think
I
so?
look like Rosa?
Well, I don't.
do, especially if you like really leaned into like your bitch face. So that, like,
Rosa.
Like, I feel like that's just her all the time.
actually, Tim and I had a conversation about who is who on the staff because Tim is like the living embodiment of Jake Peralta, in the best and the worst ways. Mostly the worst.
Yikes.
I'm definitely a self-proclaimed Gina Linetti, and I think Sarah is probably our fierce leader. I think you're probably a combo of like Terry Crews / Captain Holt.
Oh, Sarah's Captain Holt, hands down. There's no questions asked. Sarah's
The
Captain
person
Holt.
who
And Captain Holt
doesn't
is my
watch.
favorite characters.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Because I wasn't sure.
and Wunch is like, the tip of my dream.
Solid.
Okay, TV show for me. I mean, we're quite a ways into this time of social distancing. So I've gone through Jane the Virgin, which I was totally hooked on when we first started this, which it just like, I'm not usually a huge fan of sitcoms like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like The Office. Like I like them, but like I just can't really do a lot of sitcoms unless I'm with someone else. So Jane the Virgin had just the right amount of like comedy, drama, everything for me. But I just finished that, and I've been going through The Sinner now. It's a mini-series. They release 8 episodes a year on USA, and the seasons aren't connected. So like the connecting piece is a detective, but every season is a new case that he's working on. So he's really the only connecting piece. It's on Netflix, the first 2 seasons. Not gonna lie, the first season, so. You'll be watching it, you'll be like, what the heck am I watching? The second season though, yeah, it got real good. So if you want to start with the second season, you're not gonna miss anything with the first because they're not super connected.
Solid. I'm going to cheat and I'm going to do 2. So I'm 100% teleworking right now, which is a little bit odd. my office is like very busy, and so I've been watching The Office to like make up for the lack of coworkers in my day. None of my coworkers are like anyone in the office, but it's nice to pretend.
That's good. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, none of them are like that at all. Our office isn't that fun. And then I decided to also throw back old school and watch The West Wing, because I needed some like good American idealism, and just like the false hope. So yeah, went back to The West Wing. So I'm there right now. But we would also love to hear, what shows are you guys watching? What are you kind of throwing into the ring? And then, what are we learning? I know there's lots of lessons that we're learning. Some of them we don't want to learn, but we're learning. So what's one thing that you guys have learned in the virus, the change of the semester, social distancing, this kind of different space that we're in? What have you learned?
So I've learned that honestly, the best laid, it doesn't matter really what your plans are, what your strategy is, what kind of the way that you're thinking about your, even your next year, your next 3 months, even something like that close, it can all change in an instant, like with something like this. And, I think past generations have had events like that, world wars, 9/11, things that have really shaken a generation to its core and kind of reset the way that you view future planning. And I feel like for our generation, this is the first, hopefully, and only of, the one of those type of events. And so the biggest thing that I've learned is that I need to continue to build out multiple different ways that I'm thinking about my life, thinking about, my next opportunity, the next thing that I want to get passionate about, and just realize that, I don't want to be ever too attached to something and too like set in my ways such that, I can't adjust to a major change. So I've been thinking about that a lot. It's something that I feel like I used to be good at, and then I haven't gotten very good at it in the past couple of years, as like, I've kind of been very settled. And this has very much shaken up that feeling of being settled. And so I've been focusing on trying to tap into the kind of creativity of, okay, let's get back to basics. I need to design multiple aspects of my life again and figure out where I'm going to go from here. So I've been spending a lot of time thinking about that.
I guess my learning piece has been how to be okay with being by yourself. And I don't think I really struggled with this, but I've never really leaned into it to this extent. I mean, clearly Kristen and I are here together, but we've been isolating together. So a lot of our time is spent sort of alone. And I think for a lot of people, they've sort of encountered this moment where you've never been this alone. No matter how connected you are in social media or on using our devices, there are inevitably moments where you just have to be by yourself, and learning to be okay with that amount of time, just like that reflection, that self-entertainment, that self-evaluation. I think it's all been a really good learning experience to like really lean into it. And I think I'll be a better version of myself when this is over, having had this time to really just think about who I am, similar to what Tim said, and being okay with being with myself.
For me, I mean, I think all of that definitely rings true in terms of, thinking just more flexibly in terms of planning for the future, and also figuring out how to be just like physically alone for so much of the time, even though I am with Roxanne right now. But I think for me, even though I've been physically alone most of the time, I've never felt more connected to my family and friends. And I think one thing that I've taken away from this experience is really just not feeling bad, I guess, for not being productive or for taking time off to just spend that time with family and friends, making that a priority, because I think that the relationships we have like that, that's number one. And I think for me, that is the kind of the first thing to go when things get crazy, when, there's work and school and 100 other things on your to-do list. And so I think for me, learning how to not feel bad and to really just enjoy this time that I've been given to, talk to people that I have lost touch with, or just to make regular time for people that, I would send a quick message to here and there, but we just have not had a chance to really talk because we're always so wrapped up in just this, that, and the other. So for me, the lesson has been just not feeling bad about that and really taking that time and learning to reprioritize that.
Yeah, I think I've been learning about balance more because I think when I'm like working in an office 40 hours a week, I just think about like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I got to telework all the time? And now that I'm teleworking all the time, I'm like, oh man, I really wish I could go see my coworkers. And so recognizing the importance of the balance and just like not getting stuck in that the grass is always greener on that other side, I think is a big one for me. Just one of the things I've learned, but yeah, I echo a lot of what y'all are saying. All right. And then one thing, so there's lots of studies about how being thankful and appreciative is just good for us and are good for our wellness. And so what is one thing that you are appreciating or have grown to appreciate in this time?
Yeah. So I would answer this almost kind of similar to what Krista just said, is I am incredibly thankful for family, for friends that I've been able to, stay connected with, stay talking to, vent together, be sad together, be happy together, talk about a lot of different things. And I think that I can sometimes have the tendency of working myself to death and just kind of being a workaholic and always kind of viewing, what do I need to do next? What's the next project? And this and this and this. And this has also been a really good reset time to say, no, what really matters in life is the relationships that you have and the friendships that you keep and the impact that you make on other people. So I've been really thankful for the people that have been there for me, that have made an impact on me during this time. And, hopefully that I've been able to make some positive impact also.
My takeaway from this time that I'm super thankful for, is just the gift of time. And I think that's also, it leads into like a perspective thing that you guys actually touched on a little bit, but I think I'm lucky enough to be in a situation in my life where I can see all of this happening as more of like an opportunity to work on things that have definitely been put to the side. There's definitely an aspect of connecting with that, but then I think there's other things where in the previous world, when I had been thinking about when I was going to find time to do all of these side projects, it was really hard to say like when I was going to get to my checklist. Now it's like I have all the time in the world, it feels like, to work on my very, very personal goals and my passion projects, as opposed to just straight up work.
Yeah, I think that though I think the current, circumstances have brought a lot of just disappointment and things that I think none of us could have imagined we'd be going through right now. I would definitely say that all in all, I'm grateful for the situation that we're in. One, because of what you both just said, because I have this time to work on passion projects, because it's reconnected with me with friends and family. But I think it's also really exposed a lot of the pitfalls of our society. And I mean, I hate to say that I don't really think things are going to, change for the better coming out of it. I think that, on a person-to-person level, I think that, it will. And I think that we'll see a lot of changes that happen for the better. I wish I could say that there would be more systematic changes that I thought were going to, come from this situation. But I do think that a lot of the pitfalls of our society, a lot of just of the things that are just wrong in the world happening day to day have really been exposed. And I hope that, it makes us better as a species coming out of the situation.
One of the things I was thinking about was like with, I think Roxanne, you talked about time and access. And so my public library has an online book network. And so I am reading more books, and I've read more books in the last like week and a half than I've read in the last like month and a half, just because I have the time, I have the space, and I have the resources. So definitely make sure that you're checking out the resources that are available to you. And so looking at your public library or NYU's library, and just kind of accessing those. And I think it's brought up more resources than I was aware of, because it was easy to be like, oh, I'll just go to the bookstore. Well, nope, you find a different way now. And talking about our resources and our time, so online classes, they're happening. They've been happening. But we're about to enter finals. So what is one quick tip that you have for staying motivated and really excelling in online classes or online like telework style, like an internship if you're doing an online internship? Tim?
Yeah. So I'm struggling. I am definitely, I think that all the other RLAs will confirm that I am more of a extroverted personality and probably need to be around people in order to be my best, the best version of myself. And so I have had a bit of a tough time adjusting to this kind of world where I'm not really seeing a ton of people in my everyday life. And so the first couple weeks were really hard. I really struggled to adjust. And then I just kind of, came to the point of saying, okay, I'm not going to be as productive, but the way to be the level of productive that I need to be is I need to be super proactive in list making, essentially, and like getting back to basics here of, at the start of the day, it's like going back to second grade all over again, where you write down the 5 things you need to do and like make a little checkbox and then check them off, like physically check it off when you're done. Like I've seriously gone back to that with pen and paper, just because, I don't have the external, validation and things that are kind of keeping me going and keeping me on track. And so having the like internal dialogue to be able to keep you and say, okay, well, I'm going to chill with the side projects a little bit, but I need to get these 5 things done today. I'm writing them down at the beginning of the day, and then I'm just staying focused on that.
Yeah. So to piggyback off Tim's, and then veer off a little bit, I think what's been most helpful is, okay, I have a few things. One of them has been creating a schedule and sticking to it. So I think one of the first things to go when all of this happened was routine. But I've definitely leaned into making a routine, even if there is nobody holding me accountable. I've made my own routine, put it on the Google Calendar, made sure that I'm consistently doing what I need to do hour to hour, or like going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, eating meals at the same time, trying to keep some sort of sense of normalcy in what feels like a timeless world. But to that very small point of accountability, Krista and I have agreed to some things where we make sure that we check up on each other, and some of our planning is there to make sure that we're holding each other accountable to schedules. But then a quick pro tip for Zoom and just like classes online is, apparently, even if you are privately messaging someone on your chat, we're going to test it out after this. The host of your chat will be able to see a transcript of your messages after the fact. So in case this is a really hard time for you during exams and you have some type of feelings that you'd like to express, make sure you're using third-party platforms to chat to your classmates. Don't use private chat in Zoom, just in case your professor or anybody, your boss or anybody else you wouldn't want to see ends up being able to read those private messages.
Okay, for me, I think, for me, it's along the same lines of, even without this happening, I'm a big list person, like every day, like at the beginning of the week, and then every night, I have some kind of list for myself. So I have like big picture things or things that I know in advance going into the week, and then my daily tasks, which, every day that might, change a little bit. So I am already in the habit of doing that. And I think, somewhere in the middle of Tim and Roxanne, I've scheduled some things in so that I do have some routine, but I've one thing I've noticed about myself is it really does not work for me the more I schedule like hour to hour. Like if I'm gonna, do one task for 2 hours and then another task here and then take a break. If I start getting into that level of detail, the whole schedule just goes out the window and I normally don't really get much of anything done. And so giving myself the flexibility, of, doing it generally, when I need to do things, but also thinking about it in terms of like when I want to take a break and where would be a good time to insert a break. So thinking about, I have to do this, it's going to take a few hours. How tired am I going to be after that? Can I do something else? Should I take a break after that? I think, especially if you're like me and like when you sit down to do work, it could be very easy to just go down the rabbit hole and be there for a very long time. Really making time for yourself as well within that routine.
Yeah, I think I never realized how important like physical space was in terms of knowing like I walk to the metro and then I go into my office and that is when I'm working. And so my brain goes, we're working now. But being in the same room and working and living, so I found that it's really important for me to have a set like when my day ends and when my work is done. I specifically put my computer and my work stuff in one spot, and I like clean up my whole area so that I'm kind of trying to create a divide between my work and my life, because it's really easy to feel like it just enroaches and then you never feel like you're done working. So creating that kind of like practical, this work goes here, life goes here, even though in a very small space. So yeah, I think that's all we have. Anyone, final thoughts, final tidbits of fun want to add?
Miss you all.
One more Zoom tip, if this is the time to say it. Make sure that you keep yourself muted when you're not speaking. And this includes during like breaks that you might have in the middle of class. We all had just talked about how in our various Zoom interactions, we've heard some unsavory things through the screen. And you just don't want that to be you. So just keep yourself on mute.
Yeah.
And
like when I always have my computer microphone muted and my Zoom microphone muted. So I double mute that. Doubles. All right, friends. Thank you so much for joining us for our first episode of RLA Radio. We would love if you interacted. Tell us what you're watching, what your tips and tricks are. How are you doing? If you want to post reaction videos and push some hashtag NYUDC on there. But all right, friends, we are going to sign off for this episode and we hope to see you in a virtual space soon.
Good
Bye,
luck
guys.
with exams, guys. See you.